So, because this is a Formula One YouTube channel, and you've all come here to get some news about the exciting, fast moving, highly technical, complex sport that is Formula One. Um, if I was to make a video about psychological warfare, then you wouldn't be interested in that. You'd all switch off and realise that it just wasn't relevant to the sport of Formula One in any way. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to talk about psychological warfare. I'm going to make a video about Formula One because it's exciting. It's fast-moving cars, everybody, and it is exciting. But just before that, I'm just going to just say something because, um, well, it's important in life to understand the dynamics of what's really in play when we're not talking about Formula One. Okay, when we're just going about our day-to-day lives and the things that impact our daily lives normally. Okay, just so we're aware about that, and then we get to be excited about Formula One when Formula One's on. Anyway, let's just have a quick look at this, and then we'll get into the Formula One. Okay, so psychological warfare. What's that, everybody? So psychological warfare. You can have a look on Wikipedia. Um, or the basic aspects of modern psychological operations has been known by many other names or terms, including military information support operations, psyops, political warfare, hearts and minds. Isn't that a lovely one? Hearts and minds. And propaganda. The term is used to denote any action which is practiced mainly by psychological methods with the aim of evoking a planned psychological reaction in other people. Okay, planned psychological action in other people. Who would do such a thing? You must be a conspiracy theorist if you think that people would do that. Everything that happens in this world is purely random, isn't it? Nobody would plan to have an impact on people that way to get you to think things about things a certain way, would they? Now, various techniques are used and are aimed at influencing a target audience's value system, belief system, emotions, motives, reasoning, or behavior. It is used to induce confessions or reinforce attitudes and behaviors favorable to the originator's objectives, and are sometimes combined with black operations or false flag tactics. It's also used to destroy the morale of enemies through tactics that aim to depress troops' psychological states. Now, again, we're talking about things such as troops there, okay? Um, it can be used to deploy the psychological, sorry, depress the psychological state of the civilians, the citizens as well, to make you feel powerless. You can witness certain things in this world and be made to feel powerless, that you're not capable of challenging them certain things. Like at the moment in this world, we're witnessing something that's absolutely outrageous. In a particular country, innocent people are being slaughtered by a regime, and every single one of us appears powerless to prevent that. That could be any one of us. It's just the luck of the draw. You don't know the country that you're going to be born into. You don't know the parents who you're born to, the colour of your skin. You don't know any of this. You're just a human being, aren't you? It's the luck of the draw. Some human beings are getting slaughtered at this moment in time. If that was you, what would you expect? Would you expect that in this day and age, something should prevent that? You should have a basic human right to exist and to not be subject to a genocide. But we are all powerless. Why are we powerless? Who has the power? Is that the will of the people? Is this democracy? Is this, people, the citizens electing representatives to manage the affairs of the country and represent the will of the people? I'm sorry, I'm going off topics. We need to get back to the exciting Formula One, because this is a highly complex technical sport that you all understand, everybody. It's the tyres, it's the dirty air, it's the clean air. What else is it? Sorry, it's too technical for me. Psychological warfare. Sorry, I'm on the wrong page here. Target audiences can be governments, organisations, groups, and individuals. And it's not just limited to soldiers. Civilians of foreign territories can also be targeted by technology and media as to cause and effect of the government of their country. Stories are said to be a key factor in a successful operation. Stories, the hero, the villain story, the he absolutely deserved it story. Mass communication, such as radio, allows for direct communication with an enemy populace and therefore has been used in many efforts. Social media channels, media, the mind conditioning machine used in psychological warfare. But it's not about that. Like I said, this video is not about psychological warfare because the fan of the formula is not interested in psychological warfare. Don't you worry your little head about psychological warfare. This is exciting, everybody. This is here just to arouse the kiddies. Let's arouse the kiddies, everybody. Yay! Oh, this is great. It's so exciting. What's going to happen now? Let's get back to Formula One. Formula One is a form of motor racing. Now, motor racing, like any other sport, it's essential that it's carried out in in a safe environment. Okay, this over the years, this is what has been realised: is that yes, we enjoy sports, both to participate and to spectate, but safety is an issue, and therefore those people that organise the sport are responsible to ensure the safe running of that sport. That's the way it works, and that's why you have these notion of governing bodies and like refereeing bodies, and that's their role. Their role is to ensure that the sport is carried out in accordance with the rules and that it's a safe environment for that sport to take place. All right, that's just the way that we've evolved as a population. You know, caring about people over the years. Funny that, isn't it? Funny, over the years we're supposed to have realised the things that are causing problems and develop ways of, you know, caring for people, putting in place things to ensure the safety of people. Funny that, isn't it? Funny that we've developed these governing bodies that are there to do that. You know, just like so-called the United Nations, you know, governing body for protections and things. No, we're talking about Formula One here. Right, so Formula One has that. It's got the governing body, the FIA, and you have at each of these events, FIA race control, that obviously oversee the event and make sure that the event is carried out in accordance with the rules and regulations of the sport and make sure it's safe to do so. And if something happens during that sporting contest that creates a risk, a danger, race control has to intervene to ensure that that danger is dealt with appropriately and so that people don't come to harm. Now, it can be as little as waving a yellow flag in a position around that track where there might be some sort of hazard, and that warns the driver that there's a hazard and that the driver must slow down. They're not allowed to overtake as they pass that particular incident, and it's only when they pass a green wave flag to say go again where you can carry on racing again. All right, so it can be as little as that. The next phase up from that is waving a double flag. So two yellow wave flags being waved together, double yellow flag. That indicates it's slightly more serious. Okay, slow down even more. Same thing applies. You can only resume racing when you pass a green flag. The next level up in terms of the things that the race control has at their disposal to deal with a safety incident is something called a virtual safety car. All drivers on that racing circuit get notified that they all have to slow down to something like 60% of what their normal racing speed would be. They get a notification on their display in their car informing them of the speed that they need to travel at, so that with much slower traveling vehicles, it makes the situation safer to have to then to be able to then deal with whatever the problem is. Okay. When you do that, then all of the gaps between all of the cars should remain about the same, because everybody has to slow down, and so nobody closes up with anybody, and therefore, once you have dealt with the situation and you can then set them off racing again, the race hasn't been impacted that much. Okay, the problem with that is if there's something on the track that requires a prolonged clear-up operation, then a car passes that incident every few seconds as these cars are spaced out around the track, and it's not ideal. Okay, so we then go up to the next level of intervention, which is the safety car, the full safety car. And what happens there is, if the incident is severe enough, race control will intervene with that race by deploying the safety car. A car is deployed onto the track. Ideally, it picks up the lead car, and every other single competitor in that race has to bunch up behind that lead car. It forms this snake of cars that travels around the circuit at a much slower speed. And when that snake of cars passes this incident, it gives us a window of about 2 minutes before it comes back round again, allowing marshals and machinery to be on track to clear the incident up in a much safer environment. Okay, we see it all the time. Now, the problem with that safety car is that in races, certain times the lead car is so much faster than the other cars that it manages to start lapping the other competitors in that race. Now, the other competitors in that race are still racing. They're still all racing each other for all the different available positions in that race. Now, it could be you could be a car in 8th position, for example, and you're trying to overtake 7th position who's just in front of you, and the leader's that fast that they've managed to make it around the track and are about to pass you. Now, you get blue flags waved at you saying the leader's behind you, let him by you. So you let him by you, so he's now in between you and 7th. But then somewhere else around the track, somebody crashes and they deploy the safety car. So what now happens is the safety car comes out onto track. The leader has to wait behind the safety car. You, in 8th place, have to wait behind that leader. But 7th place now disappears off around the track and ends up right at the back of this safety car snake. So you now, in 8th position, you're a lap behind 7th, when previously you were just behind him, challenging for 7th. That's not okay. Right? So there is a mandatory requirement then that once the incident is dealt with and everything is made safe, then there is a procedure whereby you then, as a lapped car, because the leader has passed you, you get released and are afforded one further lap of the safety car with which to attempt to drive around the track, catch up with the back of the pack so that you are right behind 7th position again. All right, the car that you were previously able to challenge, you're right behind him, able to challenge when that event gets restarted. Okay, 2nd will get to bunch up to 1st, 3rd will get to bunch up to 2nd, 4th will get to bunch up to 3rd. Everybody gets all the gaps wiped out for them. Okay, you get to be right on the back of the guy that was previously ahead of you, and likewise, if you're in 8th, that applies to you as well. It applies uniformly across the field, providing you meet the qualifying criteria. It's quite simple, isn't it? Once you intervene in that race with a safety car, it neutralises racing, and to restart that race, you have to achieve the reset condition, which applies to all competitors. Okay, quite simple. You all follow that, you all understand that. And it's for sporting fairness because this is a sport. Now, isn't it strange that all of the experts of the sport have never told you that? Isn't it strange that the media have never told you that? Now, why would the media never tell you that? Why would that? Why would the media never tell you that? Originators' objectives. Okay, I don't want you to think that this is a conspiracy theory. Certain parties conspiring to make you think about it to be a certain way. Okay, because conspiracy theorists, those people that think that parties work together to mind condition us to believe their agenda. No, there's no way they would do that, is there? No, it's just fools that would think that that was what was going on in this world. Just fools, you know, those fools. Wear a tinfoil hat. Only them would think that that would be going on, wouldn't they? Just them. But what we did see at Abu Dhabi 2021 was an incident.
Come the first race.
Oh no, Nicholas Latifi has crashed. Now, it was a totally random crash. At the start of that lap, his race engineer did tell him it had to be this lap. Now, we don't know what it had to be, but he ended up crashing on that lap. Never mind. Never mind. Don't you worry your little heads. Now, I can't show you what actually they showed us because they will then claim copyright of that material. So we'll have a look this way. Tracker.
They would be.
Oh no, Nicholas Latifi has crashed. And he's crashed on, let's have a look on data view here.
Trouble come the first race.
Oh no, Nicholas Latifi has crashed.
Oh no, he's crashed. Now, at this stage, we've got this bar at the bottom of the screen and we've got this greeny Patronus green dot of Lewis Hamilton where I'm trying to wave my cursor. Now he's at that stage about 7/10 of the way around the lap. At the moment of the crash, he was, say, 6/10 around that lap, meaning there were 5.4 laps remaining of that Grand Prix before the checkered flag. Now, the data, because it's a highly complex technical sport, the data says that on average, 5.5 laps of a Grand Prix are wasted where you can't race when such an incident takes place and a safety car is deployed and you clear the incident up and go through the unlapping procedure, which is a mandatory procedure before you're allowed to resume that race. So on average, it's 5.5 laps, but there were only 5.4 laps remaining. The data would indicate that the likelihood was that this event was going to result in a safety car finish. There would be no more racing. Okay, that is what the data would suggest. But
I think that is at turn 14 where we saw Kimi Raikkonen crash in practice. It is at turn 14 and yes, that will be a safety car because marshals are going to need to recover that Williams and to work on it, and this now completely changes the context of this race if they can clear the Williams in time and we can have a couple of laps racing to the checkered flag.
There's bound to be a couple, and of course
there's bound to be a couple. Look everybody, it completely changes the context of the race, is what you're told. Now, what we were witnessing was that a driver was winning that race by 12 seconds, cruising to victory, it would seem. But now that's completely changed the context of this. If we can have a couple of laps racing, why are they suggesting that when straight away it's like, there's been an incident. It's unlikely we're going to see any more racing now due to it happening at this stage of the race, because that's the truth. But we're not directed to think about it that way, are we? That's not the way that the situation is proposed to us. The situation.
That's where Max Verstappen's much fresher tyres will fire up and give him the confidence on any kind of restart.
On any kind of restart. Now, there only can be one kind of restart, not any kind of restart, Martin. Much fresher tyres. Now, they've done less laps, but it's the same material. It's the same compound of rubber. Okay? Why does the same thing on one car fire up much quicker than it firing up on another car? That's rather strange direction there from the experts here.
It depends how there will be. I'm pretty sure on lap 52, obviously.
You're pretty sure that on 52, says Martin,
because of the slow pace with 5 to go, that they'll probably have a lap or two, as long as if they get a vehicle on there and get that out of the way.
They'll probably have a lap or two. Now, Martin has been the commentator of this sport for at that stage, what, 28 years as the expert presented. Now, since the beginning of the 2012 season, him and Crofty had been commentating on this sport, co-commentators, co-experts of the sport, commentated on 199 Grand Prix where these rules have been in operation since they've been reintroduced, where you've unlapped these lapped cars in a safety car situation. And you know how long it takes, lads. You know, you can go through the incidents where it's taken place. The data is there to suggest 5.5 laps. All teams would know that. And it's amazing that you have this encyclopedic knowledge where when you are commentating, you can always refer back to historic Grand Prix of yesteryear and tell us about what happened at each of these Grand Prix, where you can interject with that within your commentary. And yet at Abu Dhabi 2021, none of you seem to understand the safety car rules and regulations. Strange, isn't it? Now, we're now on lap 54 or 58. The way this must have to work is that this procedure must be taking place before lap 56 ends. And when I say that, it means that in order to have any form of racing lap, in order to get lap 58 as a racing lap, the lapped cars must be released on lap 56 before the end of lap 56. That way, lap 57 can be that mandatory safety car lap afforded to those released cars with which to attempt to make it around the track and join the end of that safety car snake to restore the correct race order and sporting fairness to all competitors. So they must be released before the end of lap 56 and afforded lap 57, and that's the only way that lap 58 can be a racing lap. So that's the key moment in time. It would have probably worked. The plan would have probably worked, were it not for the fact that the front left brake of the crash car caught fire. That caused a fire extinguisher to have to be used to control that fire, to put that fire out. That added time to the clear-up operation. The time it took to extinguish the fire, for the smoke to then clear, that was the dust of that powder fire extinguisher, and then the additional time taken to have to sweep that powder from the track, which obviously created a hazard on the track that would have significantly impacted the grip in that location of the track. Hence, it was a mandatory requirement to have to sweep that all off to ensure that the track was then declared safe, added significant time to that clear-up operation. Were it not for that fire, it's highly likely that their plan would have worked. Let's be clear about this. There was a plan. There was a plan to contrive a last lap shootout, a last lap drama between those two competitors. If there was a situation that enabled that, if them two competitors were still running in that race, going into the closing stages, there was a plan to make it a last lap shootout. Latifi's engineer told him it had to be this lap. During that safety car period, Fernando Alonso was on the radio to his race engineer saying, "We need to unlap now before it's too late to get this job done." What job was this, Fernando? Sebastian Vettel was saying to his race engineer, he needs to unlap us now, otherwise Michael's going to mess this up. You can go and listen to what these drivers are saying. I've made several videos. It was a plan. The plan didn't work. So they broke the rules to set it up. So, is that just a conspiracy theorist, or are we getting psychological warfare to make us believe it to be a certain way? Because these experts could easily explain it to you, the simplicity of a safety car situation. There's an incident, it's unsafe. The race control has to deploy the safety car to deal with this. Having deployed the safety car, this is now what needs to happen. The track needs to be declared safe, so the crash car needs to be cleared. Any debris that's on the road needs to be swept away. Now, any fire extinguisher powder also has to be swept away. And the barrier, which absorbed that impact, has to be checked to make sure it's capable of withstanding a similar incident should the same thing happen again. Okay, we need to ensure that it offers the same protection to the driver should another driver suffer the same fate. Okay, that they are what the clerk of the course has to ensure is carried out. And then he has to ensure that all the marshals that worked on that operation are clear of the track. He can then hand back to race control, and race control can then carry out that mandatory procedure. Very simple. Martin Brundle and David Croft, they explain it more like this.
And coming into the pits, Max Verstappen. Hamilton stays out. Verstappen coming into the pits, and I would imagine there's a set of soft tyres waiting for him to go onto that Red Bull car. Yes, it is.
Car box.
Negative.
Right, so if there is a restart, Verstappen now has fresh soft tyres. Lewis has heavily used hard compound tyres. They will let any lap runners through.
How does this make you feel? You've just heard how it makes Lewis Hamilton feel with that message that they purposefully picked out. That wasn't live. That didn't happen there and then. F1 TV, the creators of the construct that gets fed to you, to your mind, through the mind conditioning media. I can't box. Oh, the jeopardy, the impact on that guy. How does it make you feel? How does it make you believe this to be? Martin was saying.
Verstappen now has fresh soft tyres. Lewis has heavily used hard compound tyres. They will let any lap runners through on the safety car restart.
They will let any lapped runners through on the safety car restart. Any. We got the argument in the aftermath that it didn't mean all. Didn't we, Martin? Why have you used the word any? Any. Okay, thanks for that.
And he will presumably end up, well, they had nothing to lose. Once again, Red Bull had nothing to lose here.
Red Bull had nothing to lose. Always remember that Red Bull had nothing to lose, everybody. Red Bull had nothing to lose.
They have nothing to lose. Hamilton is a...
Nothing to lose, everybody. They had nothing to lose.
Long way clear as Perez also pits, as we can see, and there's quite a few coming into the pits. Hamilton's a long way clear on the track, but I rather get the feeling by the time he comes around to the main straight, he's not going to be able to pit and stay ahead of Max Verstappen. That chance wasn't there or has gone by for Mercedes.
Verstappen tucked up behind Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin there.
But he won't be on the restart.
And we're bound to get a couple. Will we get a couple of racing laps? We're bound to on the restart. It won't be on the restart. Shall we rewind here? When the crash happened, there were 5.4 laps remaining. On average, it takes 5.5 laps of a race before we can go racing. And we're pushing the notion of the restart. What's happening?
That's unbelievable.
Wow.
So look, we're on lap 54.
How does that make you feel? Who picked that message out? Who picked that message out to play the world that message? To disorientate you?
Of 58 here. They've got to clear that debris away, and the fire extinguishers have obviously gone off because the brakes, I'm sure, were getting very, very hot. But they've also got to let the
There was a fire!
lapped cars unlap themselves. Just at the back of my mind, I wonder if we're going to get any racing laps in this race. Wait and see. This is what happened.
So we do actually tell the truth, because we have to. Okay? You have to at least present the truth, otherwise it becomes too obvious to people. that you are actually contriving this. So you have to allude to the truth.
To Nicholas Latifi, he was scrapping away with Mick Schumacher.
That's not the corner he crashed on, is it?
That was earlier on, I think, in the skirmish with Schumacher. They barged wheels, went off the track, would have picked up a bit of dust and debris on his tyres, and then the rear just lets go.
Probably dirty tyres from being offline there.
The dirty tyres for being offline. So tyres, the tyres, the tyres. Max's much fresher tyres, firing up on any kind of restart. The tyres.
Will we get any more racing laps or not? What jeopardy at the end of this Grand Prix.
Thought there was bound to be a couple, Martin. Now it's will we? What jeopardy? Will we? What jeopardy? Why is that? Oh, we're actually seeing that this is taking longer than planned. That fire has mucked this up a bit, hasn't it? That has significantly elongated this clear-up operation. So that 5.5 lap average, ooh, that would mean it's one of these longer incidents, having had to put a fire out.
The end of this World Championship, will there be any more racing laps? If there are, then Verstappen has
the tyres, everybody.
Got the tyres to really do something with them. Will they let the lap runners through?
Hang on a minute. I've explained to you all the safety car rules and regulations and why. Yeah, I've gone through the example of exactly why. And we've got the sports expert of 28 years as a presented expert of the sport, 10 years as a driver, and he's asking the audience the question.
If there are, then Verstappen has got the tyres to really do something with them. Will they let the lap runners through?
Will they let the lap runners through? Well, you have to. You can see how this is unfolding now. Lando Norris here, currently showing in 8th position there. He was previously trying to catch Pierre Gasly. Now Gasly's up here. And Gasly will ultimately make it around the track and catch the back of the snake. You cannot leave Lando Norris a lap down on the car that he was previously trying to challenge for position. That's not even an option, expert of the sport. Why are you even proposing it? Why are you even proposing that, Martin?
Well, they always do let the lap runners through. And in between.
Why is that then, Crofty? They always do. Yeah, for the last 10 years. Why do they always do, Crofty?
Between Hamilton and Verstappen, Norris, Alonso, Ocon, Leclerc and Vettel.
And why have you just diverted our attention to just 5 cars when there are 8 that they need to let through? Why have you just diverted? Oh, and there's 5 cars here. Just the ones between 1st and 2nd. You forget the 2 that are between 2nd and 3rd. You forget the 1 that's between 4th and 5th. You just mentioned the 5.
Yes, but if they do that, it extends the safety car period.
It doesn't extend the safety car period, Martin. It's just part of the safety car period. A mandatory part of that safety car period. It's not an extension to it.
But that's what they always do. Take the lap runners out of the way so they're not interfering in play.
That's what they always do. Take them out of the way so they're not interfering in play. That's a lie. You see, that is not the truth, is it? That's an agenda-driven statement. You see, that's not what it's for. Lando Norris, the orange dot that's actually behind Lewis Hamilton here, behind the safety car, prior to the crash taking place, he was trying to chase down Pierre Gasly for 7th position. Now Pierre Gasly will disappear off around the track and now be at the end of this safety car snake. Now almost a lap ahead of Lando Norris. You cannot resume racing like that. You cannot allow a safety incident to impact the chances of drivers in that manner. It is nothing to do with getting him out of anybody's way. But that is what we are presented with by the paid experts of the sport.
situation behind me?
So, situation is, Verstappen has pitted. He had a free pit stop. We would have lost track position to him. 4 laps remaining when you cross the line. So this bump field has to...
This is the interjection chosen by F1 TV to play to us at this moment in time, to make us feel about something a certain way. 4 laps ago, when you crossed the line. Now, when did they cross the line? Quite some time ago. We're now on lap 55. They did cross the line quite some time ago.
Bunch, and then they have to send lap cars through. So
they have to send lapped cars through. That's not really explaining it to the people very well, is it? Just sending lapped cars through. Did I say to you when I explained the process, they send lapped cars through? No, that's not a full description of what needs to happen, is it? The full description explains what needs to happen and why it needs to happen. What you're hearing is not anything to do with why it needs to happen. Why is that?
May not restart.
Is he right behind me?
May not restart. Oh, it could be this. It could be that. Stay on the edge of your seats, kiddies. Stay aroused. This could be exciting for you.
He will be. Once they've sorted out all the order. This is going to take a while to sort out.
There might be one.
With new tyres.
Copy, Lewis.
Once they've sorted out the order. What order is this? Bono, what order is this? Is this the order of second being behind first? Is that the order that people are believing this to be? Or are we talking about the order being 8th being directly behind 7th in the same manner? Is that how you sort out the order, Bono?
We would have lost track position if we had pitted.
And that was the big key here.
That was the big key here. The big key here is whether Lewis pits and Max pits, or whether one does and whether the other one doesn't, and which one gets onto the tyres. That's the big key here. No, the big key here, the really big key here is can this race validly restart in accordance with the rules and regulations of the sport? Because the data and actually the way this situation is unfolding is no, it's unlikely to. We're on lap 55 of 58, and we've got now a lap and a half for this to be sorted out. Because if this track is not declared safe for these lapped cars to be released prior to the end of lap 56, this will be a safety car finish. They have to be released prior to the end of lap 56 so that lap 57 can be that mandatory lap afforded to them with which to attempt to catch the back of the pack. That's the only way there will be any resumption to racing in this event. The only way. Let's play it through.
Mercedes for the second time, keeping Lewis Hamilton out whilst Max Verstappen pitted. Red Bull had nothing to lose. Hamilton potentially losing track position. And
just in case you'd not realised this, Red Bull had nothing to lose. Just in case you'd not realised.
In this case, if we don't go racing again because you can't overtake under the safety car, he would have lost the World Championship.
And if we don't go racing again because you can't overtake under the safety car, he'd have lost. Who would have lost? Lewis Hamilton would have lost if he'd have done something that he didn't do. Why are you speaking about it like that? It's a rather strange way of putting out information, isn't it?
Is there a vehicle pulling the Williams out of the way or not yet?
Ask Martin. What do the creators of the show F1 TV show us when Martin is asking us that? They show us the drama, how it makes people feel on the pit wall. You see, they have got cameras at that location. They can show the world what's really going on. They choose not to. They instead lie to the kiddies. Okay, they keep you in the dark. They tell you, oh, it could be this, it could be that. Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? Nobody knows what's going to happen. But you could show us, couldn't you? You could show us. I mean, because we don't. I've not got those cameras here. What I have got access to is Nicholas Latifi's car camera, showing that there is indeed a vehicle taking this car off track right now, because this is the crane that's hoisted it up and is reversing back across the track. Now, if we go back to tracker view, let's go
into the pits. I'll give you those. Can't see it at the go racing again because you can't overtake under the safety car. He would have lost the World Championship.
Is there a vehicle pulling the Williams out of the way or not yet?
Can't see it at the...
So we did see, didn't we? It's reversing back down here. That's what's happening. Okay, so we'll look at the location of, that's where he is. We'll just double check, just so you can all see.
Down to you. Yeah.
Lap 55. All right, lap 55 of 58. That's what's happening, yeah? So, let's go back and have a look what they're not showing us. Back to Latifi. We're seeing his car is, there it is, look. So I'm zooming it like this just because it might help prevent it get blocked on copyright from Formula One management, who don't like me for showing the things that is their things that they own, that exposes their fraud. You know, they don't like having their crime being exposed as being such by people, so they'll try and use whatever measures legally will claim that we own that material, so you can't use that material to expose our defrauding of everybody, defrauding a global population of 108.7 million people by presenting the situation to them a certain way when that's not the truth. The truth is that this was a contrivance. So this is Latifi's car, okay? And just to pause it there, pause that there, we'll just go back to see where they are on tracker view, the cars.
Those lap cars.
Oh, so here, they've already passed that scene. Okay, so the safety car and Hamilton has already passed that scene. If we go back to data view now, we'll see them
Wait for them to catch the pack up, which they don't have to do. No. Then I don't think...
They've just gone on to lap 56. As you can see, there's Hamilton beginning it. And we'll go back to Nicholas Latifi. Okay, we'll go back to Nicholas Latifi's driver cam. So we're still with Latifi. The safety car snake is beginning lap 56 now. And on lap 56, this is the key crucial lap. Now, the key crucial lap involves this track being declared safe by the clerk of the course. Obviously Latifi's car being removed from that track. It requires the marshals to then make sure all the debris is removed, any bits of carbon fibre that have come off Latifi's car. All of the powder from the fire extinguisher having been swept off as best as possible to make sure that that track is the grip levels on that track aren't impacted by the powder. Let me just pause this to try and give you the best view possible of these marshals here working on the track, okay? Which obviously it's not easy to pick them up, but we'll do what we can as we go through. There they are, the chaps in the orange overalls there, working, trying to get all the bits of carbon fibre off the track, sweep the white powder from the track, and then somebody qualified will have to check the barriers to ensure that those barriers meet the criteria, look safe, appear safe, to be able to withstand a similar incident should a similar incident take place. Only when that's all done, and only when he's comfortable that all of those marshals are then clear of the track, can the clerk of the course sign that off. Say, yes, I've completed my checks, this has all been carried out appropriately, and you, race director, are now free to carry out these mandatory procedures that are required to take place prior to the resumption of racing. So you are now free to start that procedure of releasing those lapped cars and giving them the opportunity to. Now let's just go there. Are they going to swing back? No, they're not going to swing back. Let's just go back 10 seconds as they swing round here. Marshall's still on the track. See the orange overalls there? Marshall's still on the track. Right there. So there's a Marshall's on the track. Still sweeping. We're still on lap 56, remember. And if we keep an eye out here on the track. Oh, there's the safety car. There's the lead car. Lap 56. And when you go to the global feed here,
we'd have no laps.
We see the drama. What F1 TV wants to show us. It wants to show us how it makes you feel, everybody. How it makes everybody feel. Here, look at Max's girlfriend. How does she feel? The emotional response.
Of racing to the checkered flag. So what do Red Bull want?
What do Red Bull want? Because they've got nothing to lose, everybody. Remember how it makes you feel. This seems to have frozen up. Let me just try and refresh this. We're back. We're seeing how it makes you feel, everybody, in the
no laps of racing.
Red Bull garage and their feelings, everybody.
To the checkered flag. So what do Red Bull want?
What do Red Bull want? Because Red Bull have nothing to lose. So you know I showed you Latifi's onboarder that was being carried by that crane that's right there at the moment. There's the crane and the Latifi's car's there. And we just saw it a few seconds ago and the safety car going by. Oh, these are the marshals that are still on the track there. This is the end of lap 56.
Max Verstappen and Giampiero Lambiase as race engineer. Do they want the chance?
There they are, still jumping over the barrier. It's not safe.
Or do they want to finish behind the safety car?
And there's the last one jumping over the barrier right there.
With no overtaking.
So what do Red Bull want, everybody? What do Red Bull want, everybody? They've got nothing to lose. What do Red Bull want, everybody? Data view. Lap
chance
of 58. And they're just completing it.
They want to finish behind the safety car with no overtaking. Because
do Red Bull want to finish behind the safety car with no overtaking? Now, when we've looked at what was really happening, because obviously they couldn't show us that because the orchestrators of the construct F1 TV, okay, they didn't show us that, did they? They didn't show you that. They showed you a few replays, but your attention was being drawn to the things that Martin Brundle and David Croft were saying, making you feel a certain way, weren't they? Leading you to believe things to be a certain way, weren't they? Well, let's go back and go back through what they were saying. So remember, you know, a lap and a half previous, we were about here, they were coming down here, and Crofty was telling us if we don't go racing again, Lewis Hamilton would have lost the World Championship had he have done something that he didn't do.
Because you can't overtake under the safety car, he would have lost the World Championship.
Is there a vehicle pulling the Williams out of the way or not yet?
Can't see, because they wanted us to feel.
People pitting you.
They wanted to, show us how Mercedes were feeling. They couldn't show us the truth. But we'll go back to tracker view.
Can't see it at the moment. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, have a load of other people pitting. Yuki Tsunoda, Pierre Gasly, Daniel Ricciardo. We've had Lance Stroll as well into the...
Doesn't matter, does it? Doesn't matter, Ted, but thanks for filling the space.
Pits, I'll give you those orders as they shake out. But yeah, it was just bad luck. I mean, you saw the Mercedes...
It was just bad luck, everybody. It was just bad luck.
Mechanics just hanging around outside the pits looking at whether they had the order to come in. But Hamilton was so close to the pit entrance that it does seem that the engineer's right there. Whatever they would have done, they would have lost track position.
The safety car's not going full gas down the straight.
Copy, Lewis, understood.
His tyres are cooling. He needs more pace.
Chosen by F1 TV. How does it make you feel, everybody? How does it enhance your understanding of the situation, everybody? Or doesn't it?
More heat into those tyres.
This is awful for Lewis then with those...
On those tyres, the tyres.
Compound, heavily used tyres. So there's the shunt then that caused the safety. There has to be a safety car there. And
let's play another replay once again. Let's see it again rather than seeing what's really happening.
but will they let the lap runners through?
Why are you asking us that again, Martin? Second time you've asked us the question whether they'll break the rules of the sport. Why would you ask the audience whether the governing body of the sport will break the rules of the sport, Martin?
I don't think it's absolutely mandatory, but that's normally on a wet day that they don't.
Why on a wet day would they break the rules of the sport, Martin? Why on a wet day would they say 8th position Lando Norris? You were previously in a fight with Pierre Gasly, okay, prior to the crash, but now Pierre Gasly is going to be allowed to be a lap ahead of you just because somebody else has crashed. No, that's not what they do on a wet day, Martin. That's a lie.
And if so, how long will they wait for those?
How long will they wait? Nobody knows. Or is it a minimum of one further lap to give them the opportunity? So they're released on a given lap, okay? And then there's an additional lap beyond that lap of release. That's a minimum requirement, Martin. Why are you asking how long will they wait when you know that that is a minimum requirement? It can be much longer than that, Martin. The race director can keep that safety car on track until he's satisfied that those release cars have fully caught the back of the pack. Okay, as you've witnessed many times, as you've witnessed under Michael Massey, 4 times where he's kept that safety car out for an even further lap beyond the mandatory one, Martin. So, but the way you're phrasing the question is conditioning people to believe that something else might be going on here.
Lap cars to get out of the way. If they wait for them to catch the pack up, which they don't have to do.
No.
Which lap cars is he getting out of the way? Is he getting the 2 lapped cars out of the way between Carlos Sainz being able to challenge Max Verstappen? Is he getting the lapped car out of the way of Yuki Tsunoda being able to challenge Valtteri Bottas?
Then I don't think we'll get a racing lap. If they let them through, we could get one.
If they let them through, are we getting them out of the way? Are we letting them through? Or are we performing the mandatory unlapping procedure to restore sporting fairness to all competitors in this sporting event? What's happening, expert of the sport?
Racing lap.
3 laps to go. Nicholas Latifi is seemingly okay.
Racing lap. How long will they wait for those lap cars to get out of the way? If they wait for them to catch the pack up, which they don't have to do, then I don't think we'll get a racing lap. If they let them through, we could get one racing lap.
So, and let's just, again, we are on lap 56 now.
To go.
And there we'll just confirm that on data view. We are now on lap 56, having just started it. If they let them through, we could get one racing lap. Now that itself is accurate. Those lapped cars do need to be released on this lap, but I've already demonstrated it's not possible because there were still marshals on the track, hence it wasn't safe to do so, okay? But this is the key crucial lap. So,
to go.
If they are released on this lap, then lap 57 will be that mandatory safety car lap afforded to them. And is that described by the 2 experts of the sport? What are they narrating here? What are they narrating? Let's have a listen.
Nicholas Latifi is seemingly okay after that contact with the barriers, around about 90 miles an hour.
How does that make you feel? Oh, we're all glad that the driver is okay. That is giving you an emotional response.
But he would have taken a whack, and it's good to see that he's okay. Sergio Perez coming into the pits again.
So Max.
Is that Max? Is that Max? Now, when we ask the question, is that Max? That's also the same thing that you get pit lane view up here. 2 different commentators, a different commentary team. They always also throw out that notion. Oh, how does that make you feel? That could be Max, everybody.
I think they're retiring the car here. Perez into the pits for the 4th time. didn't understand why, but I think they are retiring.
Let me explain it to you, Crofty. If you take him out of the equation, that guarantees Mercedes the Constructors' Championship. You see, Mercedes went into that race with a 28-point lead in the Constructors' Championship, and if Red Bull only have one car that finishes, the maximum that that car will get is 26 points. So regardless of the two Mercedes cars, Red Bull will not overtake the Mercedes points tally with just one finisher. So just retiring Perez ensures the $177 million prize goes to Mercedes. That's ultimately the effect of it. But you won't describe it like that as experts of the sport. You'll go on to say something else later around this lap.
In the car, and yes, they're not going to be working on it, and that is the end of Sergio Perez's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Checo, we need to retire the car. We need to retire the car. Box.
And for the
really? Yeah, box.
Yes, the driver is surprised that there's a problem with his car, because he can't really identify that there's a problem with his car, can he? And he's just the driver. What would he know? Anyway, don't you worry your little heads. Don't you worry your little heads about that, okay? Don't worry about that. That's not important.
And lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake.
And lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. Why would that be? Well, that would be, as I've showed you, okay? We're at a point in time where they don't normally announce that. You see, they don't announce that in Grand Prix because it's not an announcement to make. You see, there's a reason why they won't be allowed to overtake, because there they are. There's these lads that are moving Nicholas Latifi's car, and when they just move it back here, there's still marshals on the track. So, you know, we're still not in any position to be able to do that. So
of work.
Let's just listen again to Crofty once it's stopped.
Box.
And lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake.
It's not mandatory, and the
it is, Martin. It is. What are you saying, Martin?
Regulations, which leaves Verstappen with a lot of work to do there.
That's not the case, Martin. It means that we can't do anything at the moment. Track's not safe. Okay, track's not cleared yet for a start, and then once it is clear, we've got to carry out a procedure before racing can resume. We've got to achieve the mandatory condition prior to the resumption of racing. That's all it means, nothing else. You know, the notification that they've given here
at the end.
This banner, the FIA Race Control official banner published to the global audience by F1 TV. Lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. The official FIA Race Control announcement. You see, in the regulations, it's overtaking will not be permitted is the actual command that has to be given if it's not allowed to overtake, because you're not allowed to overtake. And if you're not allowed to overtake, you're not allowed to overtake. Everybody. What does that mean? You're not allowed to overtake. Does that apply to everybody? Yeah. What does lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake mean? Does that mean if you're not a lapped car, you are allowed to overtake? If you are a lapped car, you're not allowed to overtake. Are you allowed to overtake each other? See, it's all a bit ambiguous, and you see, this is why we have rules and regulations, so that it's not ambiguous, it's not up for a debate, okay? It's clear guidelines, isn't it? Clear parameters, clear way of doing something. It's funny that over time that we develop these things, and then people need to argue about them to validate their agenda. Oh, we'll have a legal argument over this that will last 4 years, and then a judge will have to decide the merits of the legal argument and decide which merits of the argument are correct in this particular incident. Funny that. No, it's quite clear. Quite clear. We'll carry on, but I'll go to track review.
So Mercedes will be constructors' champions at the end of this race, as it stands at the moment.
That was the very moment that Perez retired.
Assuming that Hamilton and Bottas finish this race.
Doesn't matter, they could both crash out and Mercedes would still be Constructors' champions with the $177 million prize pot because Perez retired. You see, had Hamilton and Bottas crashed out of that race, and well, let's say Hamilton had, then what? You'd have had Max Verstappen winning that race. You'd have had Perez second position. You'd have had Bottas at that stage in fourth position. What does that do to the championship? So Hamilton, let's say not crashed out, let's say he'd suffered a engine failure or a puncture during that safety car and then meant it dropped him out of the race. Oh, you're 28 points behind Red Bull. You've just got to keep Perez going in that third place at that stage, right? Keep him on the track, and if Hamilton does drop out, you get a 1-2. You get 26 points for Max with winning and fastest lap. You get 18 points for Sergio Perez. What's that done? That's given you a 16-point lead now in the championship. From being 28 points behind, you're now 16 points in the lead. Where's Valtteri Bottas? What can he do about it? Oh, he's only in fourth. He only gets 12 points. Red Bull will be Constructors' champions as well, but let's not gamble on that. Let's retire Perez, shall we?
The Drivers' Championship, though, is very much up for grabs.
Why is the Drivers' Championship very much up for grabs? Why is it very much up for grabs?
Lapped cars won't be allowed to overtake, which means
it's not safe for them to overtake, because as we can see here, there's the men there, and can we see? Oh, there they are. Marshall's on the track. So there they are, still on the track, which means the cars can't overtake yet because it's not safe to do so. But let's go back
through. The lapped cars won't be allowed to overtake, which means that there are plenty of cars in between Hamilton and Verstappen for Verstappen to fight his way through.
Doesn't mean that at all, because you can't go resuming racing like that. Because you see Lando Norris, the orange dot here behind Hamilton, he's now this far, pretty much the whole length of the track, right, behind Gasly. You can't resume racing like that. Norris, who's currently showing as being in 8th position, because we've got Perez showing as being in the pits there, having retired. The reality is now Norris occupies 7th position in that race, and is now a lap behind 6th position in that race. That's not allowed. Not allowed to resume racing like that.
Norris, Alonso, and also Ocon and Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel.
None of which are for position, of course.
No.
They're obliged to get out of the way, but
none of which are for position, of course. They're obliged to get out of the way. They've only listed 5 of the 8 again. Only listed 5 of the 8. And none of those 5 are for position, of course. You know, the positions, and again, what we need to do is modify this because he's showing as still in 7th, but he's out of the race. So really we've got 7th position Norris, 8th position Alonso, 9th position Ocon, 10th position Leclerc, and 11th position Sebastian Vettel. Okay, but none of them are for position, of course. None of them are for position, says the expert of the sport. They're just obliged to get out of the way, says the expert of the sport.
Norris, Alonso, and also Ocon and Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel.
None of which are for position, of course. No. They're obliged to get out of the way, but Lewis will be long down the road.
That I suppose is the compromise that race control have made here. By
the compromise that race control are going to make. It's a compromise. How does it make you feel, everybody?
Giving the best possible chance for racing to the finish rather than finishing behind.
What do you want, everybody? Do you want the chance of seeing something exciting here? What do you want, everybody? How does it make you feel, everybody? What are the rules, everybody? Why are the rules what the rules are, everybody? Oh, but how does it make you feel, everybody?
The safety car, they've decided the lap cars will stay where they are.
Cancel that.
That's the compromise that they've made. They've broken the rules, everybody.
Lap cars will not be allowed to overtake.
How does this make you feel, F1 TV, who took this message that took place from here, turn 5 down to turn 6? Took about 20 seconds for this interaction to take place. They've edited out the time gaps, and they're playing it to you now to make people feel a certain way.
Yeah, of course. Typical decision.
It's classic.
I feel like I'm the victim here. Poor Max, the victim. He had no luck all year. He absolutely deserved it.
I'm not surprised.
Well, I'll try and look at this objectively.
Let's look at this objectively, everybody. Let's be objective about this, shall we?
We should get 1 lap of racing here. If we allowed the lap...
Why objectively should we get 1 lap of racing here? We are on lap 56, as will be confirmed here.
We'd have no lap.
There we are, lap 56
of racing to the checkered.
And we're looking at it objectively, and we'll go to the global feed.
Jean-Pierre.
And looking at it objectively, we're seeing the marshals jumping over the barriers at the end of lap 56. That means it's not safe. The clerk of the course can't declare the track safe. We are now, as they're coming past
checkered flag. So what do Red Bull want?
We're within this distance here of beginning lap 57. This white dot back here would need to be released. The last of those eight runners. There's no way that white dot will get by all these cars and the lead car and the safety car prior to the safety car and the lead car commencing lap 57. That means this is a safety car finish, guaranteed. But objectively,
get 1 lap of racing here.
It's classic.
I'm not surprised.
Well, I'll try and look at this objectively. We should get 1 lap of racing here. If we allowed the lap cars to overtake, we'd have no laps of racing to the checkered flag. So what do Red Bull want? Max Verstappen and Jean-Pierre Lambier.
What do Red Bull want, everybody? Because they had nothing to lose, remember? They had nothing to lose.
Gasly as race engineer, do they want the chance, or do they want to finish behind the safety car with no overtaking? Because I think that is the decision that has come from race control. And personally, this is the decision that gives them the best chance.
Personally, objectively, this is the decision that gives Red Bull the best chance if Red Bull want that chance, everybody. Personally and objectively.
If they want it.
Yeah, I mean, the regulation, as I said, they may allow the lap cars through. It's not mandatory, as I pointed out, but...
Oh, it is mandatory, Martin. It is. Psychological warfare, psyop. Various techniques are used and are aimed at influencing a target audience value system, belief system, emotions, motives, reasoning or behavior. It is used to induce confessions or reinforce attitudes and behaviors favorable to the originator's objectives. But no, don't you worry, little heads. That's just psychological warfare. This isn't Formula 1 or how they could defraud a global audience for their financial benefit. Media, mind conditioning people. Media showing you that you're powerless to do anything when they defraud you.
As you point out, Croft,
when they manufacture an injustice, there's nothing you can do. But as you point out, Crofty, yes, us two experts in our circle jerk, being objective, everybody. Yes, just being objective, as you point out, Crofty.
There'd be no racing laps if they let the lap cars through.
So how would that make you feel, everybody, if they let the lapped cars through?
Because I think the safety car will come in at the end of this lap, and there will be 1 racing lap.
Let me interpret that for you. I think they're going to break the rules and they're going to go racing at the end of this lap, is what the sports expert has essentially just said. Okay, now I know he didn't say it as clearly as that, but that's what it said. I think the safety car will come in at the end of this lap and there will be 1 racing lap. Now, you can't go racing like that because Norris here is now a lap behind Gasly. You can't resume racing like that. That's why you have the safety car regulations. Once you deploy a safety car, you must do this. They pretend, oh, the race director can pick and choose whether he does that. No. He can pick and choose whether he deploys the safety car, but once he's deployed the safety car, he has to carry out that procedure before he can resume racing. He can't pick and choose elements of that procedure. Very clear. But they'll get a fancy lawyer to pretend otherwise, and that's the law, everybody. Don't you worry your little heads, it's too complicated for you, even though I can show you what is produced by a misapplication of that law. So therefore it demonstrates that the notion of attempting to interpret that is invalid. That's a corrupt interpretation. So, quite simply, it's not like that.
They'll all get blue flags, I would imagine.
Embellish the lie, everybody, by diverting people to, these 5 cars that are going to be there, they'll just be told to jump out of the way, everybody. We'll still continue and embellish the lie.
Christian and Michael.
Yes, go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, why aren't we?
Oh, who's chosen this interjection to make you feel about the situation a certain way? That would be F1 TV, Formula One management's media mind conditioning machine. And what are they encouraging us to think? Oh, Christian Horner feels aggrieved.
Getting these lap cars out of the way.
Just give me, because Christian, just give me a second.
Christian's frustrated, and the race director is fumbling.
Okay, my big one is to get this incident clear.
You only need 1 racing lap.
My main one is to get this incident clear. Now, what we did see is the marshals jumping over the barrier at turn 14 over here when those cars were passing it. And now, all this time afterwards, Michael is telling Christian, apparently, or did this conversation happen earlier, and it's just now they're choosing to play it to us, that his main one is his big one. Michael's big one, right, is to get the incident clear. Okay, probably done now. Okay, but even if you did release those lap cars now, Michael, the safety car returned to the pits at the end of the following lap. That 58 is still a safety car lap to afford those release cars the opportunity to make it to the back of the pack before racing can resume, to achieve the mandatory restart condition, which you're now not going to do in this length of time. It's a safety car finish. Quite simple.
Well, I assume Christian's talking about then, getting the lap cars out of the way, not clearing.
I assume Christian's talking about getting them out of the way, not clearing
the incidents away.
We're not worried about clearing the incident away, Crofty. What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, all of the cars in front of Max will get blue flags and are duty bound to get out of the way, but they're all in a reasonable fight themselves, aren't they?
Well, so here we go.
I thought they're not fighting for position, you told us. Now they're all in a reasonable fight for none of them are for position, of course, but they're all now in a reasonable fight for themselves, because now they're in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, because they were. Obviously, Perez was in that running order at the time, but, they're all in a fight for themselves, 7th, 8th. But 7th, he can't be in a fight for 6th. Why can't he be in a fight for 6th? Oh, he has to be in a fight for 6th because that's the only way you can go racing again. Yeah, because he was actually closer to 6th place Gasly. Norris was closer to 6th than Verstappen was to Hamilton. You can't skew outcomes like that.
Normally, you'd see the race leader backing up the pack a little bit when the safety car goes. I would imagine on this occasion, if we do get a lap, Martin, Hamilton will want to be disappearing off into the distance as fast as he can.
Yeah.
If we do get a lap, you're proposing if we do get, that's not allowed. It's against the laws. It's against the rules of the sport. You're still proposing if we do get a lap, if we do get a lap, if we do get a lap, if we do get a lap. It's not allowed. It is not allowed. Why can you not clearly say we are now on lap 57? You cannot resume racing with lapped cars in situ. That's a fact. You cannot do it. And if you release the lapped cars now, the safety car has to remain on track for a further lap to enable those released cars to unlap themselves, meaning you can't resume racing until they cross the start-finish line at the end of lap 58, which means that's the checkered flag. This is a safety car finish. Providing Lewis Hamilton keeps his car on the track, he's the winner of this. He's an 8-time world champion. Why aren't you saying that?
I don't see any way Verstappen can do anything with that, but indeed, is the safety car coming in this lap? We think it should do.
Verstappen can't do anything with that. How does that make you feel? Indeed, is the safety car coming in this lap? We think it could do, should do. Why could it? Why should it? Because it shouldn't. Why are you proposing that?
Could do. Is there any more debris to clear up?
Is there any more debris to clear up, everybody? Nobody knows. We think the safety car is coming in now. We think there's going to be one racing lap now. Is there any more debris on the track to clear up now? Does that make sense, anybody? Or, if you've had to stop racing because there's a safety concern, are you going to go racing when that safety concern hasn't been dealt with because you think there's still potentially debris on the track?
I don't see any way Verstappen can do anything with that, but indeed, is the safety car coming in this lap? We think it should do, could do. Is there any more debris to clear up? But we're halfway round already.
Race control are now saying lapped cars to overtake the safety car. So Norris and Alonso and Ocon and Leclerc and Vettel to
and it's
overtake.
ending.
Oh, that's the third time you've listed those 5 cars. Just like 3 times. Will they let the lap runners through? I'm not sure it's mandatory, but that's usually on a wet day where they don't. And if so, how long will they wait? Will they let the lap runners through? That leaves Max with a lot to do. But it's ending. It's ending. Wow. How does that make you feel?
And it's ending. Wow.
Mike.
Queued up. Toto Wolff. Queued up by F1 TV. How does it make you feel, everybody? Well, it makes Toto feel like that. How does it make the rest of you feel, everybody?
So, there's confusion, but the safety...
It's confusing, isn't it, everybody? It's confusing.
Safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. So those back markers allowed to overtake the safety car, and that is now...
Those back markers, you know, 7th place. What's that? Is that 8 World Championship points? 8th? That's 6 World Championship points. 9th? No, sorry, 7th. I've got that wrong, haven't I? 7th is 8 World Championship points. 8th is 6 World Championship points. Have I got this right? I might be getting this wrong. 9th, I am. We'll start with 10th. That's 1. That's Leclerc. Ocon in 9th. That's 2. Alonso in 8th. That's 4. Norris in 7th. That's 8. That's right, isn't it? I think. Doesn't really matter. They're all World Championship point scoring positions. Those back markers, they're not back markers. They're still in a race, fighting for positions, fighting for World Championship points. This orange dot, prior to the resumption of racing, has to be have the distance he was behind Gasly here. He has to be within that. There's a minimum before racing can resume. He can't be left disadvantaged. Ideally, he wants to be backed up on the end of him, bunched up in the same way that all the other competitors are bunched up in the correct race order, one behind the other. That's what the regulations are there to achieve.
Now left, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen.
Michael, this isn't right.
It has left Lewis Hamilton and Max...
So you have to give a nod to the fact that it's not right. You can't pretend solely that, oh, this is all fine, because there's enough knowledgeable people out there that understand. But what you're doing, you are presenting the notion of it being confusing. Nobody knows what's going on here. Nobody knows what is going on. This couldn't have been done by design, could it? You know, there couldn't be a method whereby they can use techniques to influence a target audience's value system, belief system, emotions, reasoning, reinforce attitudes and behaviors favorable to the originator's objectives. No, they wouldn't do that. It's only conspiracy theorists that would believe in the notion of psychological warfare, or anybody trying to manipulate us by that.
Max Verstappen side by side. Hamilton will be ahead. Verstappen is absolutely desperate to get on with this on that soft compound tyre. We're going to have one lap of racing to decide the championship in 2021. Hamilton has the advantage. Verstappen has the faster, fresher tyres, and we have got 3.2 miles.
Exciting. Exciting. How does that make you feel, everybody? Stay on the edge of your seats. It's only live once. Wow, that's the best thing you've ever seen. You couldn't make it up, could you? You couldn't make it up. Unless you did. You know, you did contrive a last lap shootout. Now, it didn't go to plan because of the fire. So you had to freestyle it, didn't you? You had to, will they let the lap runners through? I'm not sure it's mandatory, but that's usually on a wet day. And if they do, how long will they wait? Well, they'll all get blue flags, you know. Bit of freestyling, they call it, or what's the word that they use when the ad-libbing, improvising from Brundle and Crofty. Yeah, these actors, they're agents of the system. They're experts in their field. They do really well. Experts of the field. Paid experts. But this is just Formula One, everybody. You know, this sort of thing doesn't take place in your life. The media that you watch and listen to doesn't lie to you about the goings on in this world, the government decisions, the things that are impacting your life, the corruption that's going on, who's really running the world that we live in, who's really benefiting from the decision making, what's really impacting our lives. Don't you worry your little heads. It's not the media that's just presenting the agenda of those who want it to be that way, making us feel powerless to be able to impact it. No, you know, don't you worry your little heads. You can't do that. You're powerless, okay? You're powerless because it wants to depress not only the troops, but the citizens, to make you feel that there's an injustice, but you can't do anything about it. So, there will be more videos, but I'm not going to make them about important things because, you know, that's just conspiracy theory stuff. I'm going to keep you all excited with the Formula One content. Stay tuned, everybody. It's only live once. Thank you for your time.